To speak more on this, I do want to bring on attorney Kelly Hyman to talk about the legal aspects of it. And Kelly, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Great to see you.
So I do want to start off with the federal judge's ruling to allow Operation Metro Surge to continue. What is the legal basis for that decision?
So when we look at the legal basis, we have to remember that this was a preliminary injunction, and the plaintiff, that being the state of Minnesota, has the burden. Now, this is an extraordinary remedy, and what it would mean is, in fact, that it would stop this operation, so ICE would leave the state. However, the judge made a determination that based on the facts presented by the plaintiff, they did not meet that burden as to the injunction, and so therefore the operation will proceed. However, the judge did not rule on the merits of the complaint.
So the argument of the lawsuit, Kelly, claims that Operation Metro Surge was violating constitutional protections. For that argument, what are the constitutional protections that people legally have?
So when we look at our Constitution, there are amendments to the Constitution. Such amendments, a lot of people know: the First Amendment, right to speech; the Second Amendment, right to bear arms, to carry a gun; and another one, the 10th Amendment. And what the 10th Amendment means is states' rights. So the founders said that certain things were left up to the state. The state had a right for the federal government not to infringe upon its right. So the complaint largely is based on the 10th Amendment, and what that means is the argument that the federal government, by bringing ICE to its state, is infringing on the state of Minnesota's rights for its own policies and procedures.
When we take a look at this ruling, what can you share with us in terms of any legal precedent that it sets with ICE enforcement operations, not just in Minneapolis and Minnesota, but any state and city here in the United States?
Well, this applied only to the state. So from the judge's determination as to the injunction relief is the state's law. It wouldn't apply as binding authority on other states. And her ruling has no bearing on the merits of the case. And what that means is that the complaint is still going to proceed, and the plaintiff has the burden and has to prove, in fact, that the defendant, being the government, violated the 10th Amendment.
Taking a look at the broader aspect of it, there have been arguments in terms of the level of tensions and, the violence that has erupted with protests and maybe some of these operations. But when it comes to the legal aspect of ICE's operation, making sure that they remove violent criminal immigrants who are here in the country illegally, but also trying to maintain peace as well. When it comes to that legal protection, how does that work with that balance? Because I have to imagine, it's very nuanced and oftentimes tenuous.
It needs to balance immigration's rights, but then also we have to look at constitutional rights as well, because we, the people, have certain constitutional rights, whether it's the First Amendment under free speech or to peacefully protest. And based on our constitutional rights, it has to be balanced between the law enforcement and, in fact, the immigration's law and rights as well.
Kelly, we appreciate you taking the time to share that legal perspective as we continue to follow all of the developments out of Minneapolis. We appreciate you joining us.